I woke up today to sad news out of Minnesota, and that is Michele Bachmann says she will not be running for re-election in 2014. And I was saddened by this for a couple of reasons. One, I thought actually Michele Bachmann was a great addition to the presidential campaign, and that the debates, apart from anything else, got extremely boring once she was off the panels. But the other thing I like about her is she's like a lot of successful Republican women. She took a ton of heat about everything, because there's something about successful Republican women that so-called liberal feminists seem to absolutely loathe. And they hammered Michele Bachmann. She was portrayed as crazy. I'm personally very grateful to her. Years ago, when my book America Alone came out, they had this. They had some thing run by whatever it is, the American Library Association or whatever, about encourage. They get celebrities and politicians to be photographed with their favorite books. To encourage children to read it. Something they do in the grade schools, America Reads, or some name like that. And most people, of course, just pick, your Thomas the Tank Engine book, or Little House on the Prairie, or whatever. So they go and get, some, I don't know, Sean Penn, or Matt Dillon, or somebody, to stand there posing with Thomas the Tank Engine, or Little House on the Prairie. Michele Bachmann posed with my book, America Alone, The End of the World as We Know It. And I don't know whether that has been mandated for Minnesota grade school. I certainly hope so. I mean, yes, of course, it may give them a few sleepless nights for months on end, may traumatize them, may tip them over the edge into complete derangement, and they may end up in straitjackets at the Minnesota State Mental Institution. But so what if it sells a few more copies of my book? I'm all for that. But I was extremely grateful to see Michele Bachmann posing with my book America Alone, and I was especially heartened when all her opponents in Minnesota immediately said, "This is it. This is proof that she's completely flown the coop, that she's endorsing some crazy loon like Mark Steyn. That is a sign that this woman is completely nuts." And in fact, she wasn't nuts at all. She read that book, and she read my next book, and she was quoting some of the stuff about it on Meet the Press about a week after it came out. She actually read it herself, which I found particularly impressive, because you know the way it works now, that most elected officials in America have these vast retinues the size of Gulf emirs. If they're interested in a book, they get the minion to instruct some other minion, who gets the minion who's in charge of reading books on behalf of the deputy executive associate minion to read the book for the congressman or the senator. But Michele Bachmann actually read this stuff herself. And the great thing about what I always liked about her, when you saw her on TV appearances or live speeches or whatever, was that she would, if she got interested in a subject, you would get the sense that she had been genuinely engaged by that subject and was going to tell the truth on that subject, and was going to stick to her particular line on that subject, regardless of whether the focus group showed it was popular or unpopular, or just wasn't something they were interested in. She was very good, in particular, on all the stuff that this president is so lazy about. On all the stuff to do with national security and the war on terror and all that kind of thing. And she was fearless about that. She was absolutely fearless. And I understand that she's had some problems. Her presidential campaign finance thing is being investigated, because that's just the way it is in America. She'll be tied up for years as they go through all her records for her 2012 presidential campaign. But certain other people, Malik Obama and the Barack H. Obama Foundation, they don't have to worry about any of that. It's odd, the strange selectiveness of this stuff. So she's going to be tied up with that and digging out from under that. Something that Eric Holder doesn't have to fear, something that Lois Lerner doesn't have to fear, something that President Obama doesn't have to fear. But she was a fearless, articulate spokesperson for a genuine conservative vision. And sooner or later, people said, she got this wrong, she got that wrong. Do you ever see Mrs. Thatcher, circa 1977, 1976? She got a lot of stuff wrong, too. And at the that's what Michele Bachmann offered. She could have been America's Mrs. Thatcher, and at worst she would have been America's Angela Merkel from Germany. But she would have been a lot better than most of the alternatives on either side of the aisle. And I don't know why. The United States has lagged behind other developed nations in having a female leader. But I know that come the grim day that we do get a female leader, it will be some squishy, left-wing, hardcore feminist type, rather than the kind of female leadership this country would benefit from. And as I said, at her best, she could have been America's Thatcher. So I deeply regret that Michele Bachmann will not be in the House come 2 years' time. But I definitely hope this isn't the last refight. Also, the other thing is, I think I'm kind of sweet on her too, because I think she looks fabulous as well, and that never hurts. But I shouldn't have said that. I just ruined it. But she does. She was very... I tell you, since I've just ruined it, I'll tell you something. I was in Fox. I shouldn't be saying this. I know so pretend this is just off the air, and I'm just saying it quietly to HR and the guys in control. But I went into a television thing at Fox, and she happened to be there in the green room, and she looked absolutely fabulous. She looked absolutely fabulous. And she'd just sort of come in a sweatshirt and everything, and she hadn't sort of changed yet. She just looked, and had no makeup on and everything. She looked terrific. And then she went into makeup and got into her formal dress and everything. I thought she looked actually much better the way she was. She was just like in her sweatshirt and everything, unmade up, just like yakking it up in the green room. But I know Michele Bachmann has been an absolutely fearless, articulate speaker. You compare someone like her. I was talking about Lincoln Chafee just now. Lincoln Chafee has just broken the news to the stunned citizens of Rhode Island that he is, after all this time, where we've thought of him as a solid red meat Republican, and then a tough maverick independent, all that he is in fact just a Democrat, and he's signing up and joining the Democratic Party. And if you compare someone like Lincoln Chafee, a man who believes in nothing, a jellyfish, a jelly-spined, nothing, finger-in-the-windy guy who makes no contribution to public discourse whatsoever, and then you compare that to someone like Michele Bachmann, who people go bananas over, people go nuts over, because she stands up there, and I don't know whether it is a misogynist streak on the left. You don't have to scratch very deep. I mean, what is interesting about the left is it's all identity politics. If you're not a certain kind of black man, you're not black. So Clarence Thomas isn't black, and Condi Rice isn't a black woman. And if you're a certain kind of woman, you're not really a female. Sarah Palin isn't a female, because for them that R after the name, the Republican or the Conservative, squashes everything else. And so the viciousness that is directed by the misogynist left at someone like Michele Bachmann is absolutely astonishing. It requires actually quite a lot to sit there and take it week in, week out. And she has been a tough, articulate spokesperson for a coherent vision of full spectrum conservatism. You don't have to worry about her, not connecting all the working parts together. For full spectrum conservatism. And I mourn her loss from the scene. And I don't know. I mean, it looks like this is going to be one of those seats that the Democrats are in with a shot at winning and would like to win and all the rest of it. But I hope that if it does stay in Republican hands, that it stays in the hands of a principled Republican arguing for a genuine conservative vision.